Finnish educator, local level policymaker in my youth, and I want to really want to see that I was working more than 10 years ago of setting up the schools program that's called Innovative Schools at the time. So that's why I couldn't be more excited than spend a little bit of time this afternoon with you. Because I think that school leaders' role is the most important role in the whole education system. You live day to day the roller coaster between your school's needs, learners' needs, teachers' needs, parents' needs, and the national or the local education policy, curriculum changes, etc. And I think the fact that you have joined this meeting today is really showing that in spite of this tremendous system stress and personal stress we have all gone through, as a kind of common experience through the COVID, you are still emphasizing and you are still looking for ways to rematching your future of your school, hopefully developing, and what are the kind of key learnings of the COVID and remote learning we have gone through. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the changes we started to make with our education transformation framework already pre-COVID. But I want to and try to put that through the lenses of what might be helping you in the current situation when we are hopefully transmitting slowly but steadily towards new normal. And yet at the same time tell a little bit also behind the scenes things that what we have done at Microsoft to educate and really kind of react to this new situation. I'm sure when I'm retired, I'm going to remember year 2020. I have spent the last 18 years of evangelizing the importance of digital transformation for education. It has come through my personal experiences as a young educator, realizing that youth employment was very high in Finland back in 1990s, simply because the kids and students who graduated didn't have the sufficient ICT skills. And I think what Alexis has described in the previous presentation is pretty much taking me back to the 1990s. That was the time when we had the third industrial revolution. Now we are going through the fourth one. And I really appreciate that we have education leaders like you who are really willing to make this change happen. So 2020 was the year when we had to go, all the systems had to go from talking to acting. So I would say that the hybrid learning needs was put on instantly in some of the countries in February, somewhere in March or April last year. And I would say that overall, it has really shown the power of technology and the kind of hidden readiness for this transformation. But I do also know that in the aftermath, we do have questions about equality, the quality of the hybrid learning, etc. So many of the things that you have been early adapters because you wouldn't be in the Showcase Schools program otherwise. It's really interesting how we go now back and rebuild the new normal together. The things that we also had to change, and for instance with our discussions and collaboration with UNESCO, it was clear that we cannot only focus anymore for the classroom technology, that we have to look infrastructure and really think learning beyond the classroom. And then on top of that, we have this thing called fourth industrial revolution that is challenging our education systems on other half on the curriculum point of view. Because if we once again don't prepare the students for the workforce development or working environment that has now also permanently changed because of COVID, we are recreating the unemployment, lack of future visions for the next generation. So that's why these are issues we have to solve at the same time when we are also exploring that what might the key drivers and engines of our future in the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, mixed reality, blockchains, quantum computing, what these innovations could mean for education. And of course, we may use today artificial intelligence solutions without realizing it. Some of them are just integrated to tools like Teams that we are using all the time. Or we are able to start to build systematic strategies around how we use data. And that is something that I'm excited to share you a little bit with the education transformation framework. My key question to my team here in Europe, Middle East and Africa, who are working with the K-12 education, to my colleagues, to myself, and to you is that, okay, how do we navigate these changes? So are we jockeys or are we workhorses? I know that our day-to-day lives can be fulfilled with numerous of tasks, problem solving, and yet at the same time, we should have the mental power and tools to be jockeys who can really choose the pathway away from this situation. So that's why taking care of yourself and also making sure that you have those tools available is super critical. Education transformation framework was developed to really help system leaders, school leaders navigate through their education transformation and digital transformation. I know there's a lot of frameworks out there. Our purpose is not to be here and say this is the only framework you can use, but we definitely think that this research-based framework is also helping you to find the common denominators with the elements that Microsoft has here to offer through technology, through many of the programs. So we have 4 pillars. Some of the pillars have now changed. The leadership and policy is still the core thing. And of course, that is your home yard, so to say, because with your strong leadership and education policy implementation and house rules can really make a difference. Teaching and learning, no-brainer. This all has to be about learning and improving learning outcomes. There's no digital transformation project that makes sense if that is made on the technology point of view. All has to really improve your organizational capacity and increase the learning outcomes. Intelligence environments. I think this is the area we're going to focus quite a lot today and just explore some of the opportunities. And then students, schools, and success. We used to have technology blueprint, but guess what? We realized we want to make sure that the students and impact for the students' learning outcomes and school success is actually so important. We want to bring that to the front line of the pillars. And technology is key enabler in all of those 4 pillars. So it's a holistic approach. It gives you 360 degree view of the transformation. We hope it's helping you to drive discussions with variety of the stakeholders, and hopefully it can help you to create this roadmap for your transformation. Those of you who may already have been using education transformation framework, I would say this is a good time to maybe go and revisit during the spring or back to school timeframe with your teachers and your learning community what the new normal looks like. And one more thing I really want to highlight is that this is based on global best practices. Originally, we interviewed more than 120 education leaders across the globe when this was developed, and it's grounded in research. So this is research-based information that we always use. Leadership and policy has the elements of vision of change, the importance of strategic planning and change management. And I must say the latest area of my own development has been really around the change management, and it's much more than only professional development for the teachers. So this part is especially something that I'm very excited with the new ETF and what kind of thinking it can help you to create. The continuous improvement and culture. It's about culture. Are we embracing innovation in our school organization? Do we believe that every child can learn? Do we believe that we can help every student to fulfill their full potential? Those are cultural questions. How you create the culture of innovation. And then what is the community engagement and partnerships looking like? Because I have seen so many great transformation and innovation projects to be killed by the parents, because the parents or student community engagement wasn't really kind of enabling that innovation. I think schools have to and must be opening up to the society around them. What are the kind of university partnerships? What is your partnership with Microsoft? What is your partnership with other local organizations or NGOs who can really enrich your networks? In each of the education transformation framework, we have some reflection questions. I will be sharing these slides, and of course you have access to all the web resources we have. But I think the key question this spring and next autumn, when hopefully because of the vaccinations, we are able to go back to more normal and not only be in the kind of limbo of remote learning. I think the questions are, how is the post-COVID new normal, looking like? What the impact will be? How you can improve the hybrid learning to also be meaningful and actually increase, for instance, data or learning personalization or flexibility when you are going back to the more normal day-to-day physical school experience. In teaching and learning, we have elements like student-centric learning, that how we can really make the student the driver of their own learning process, how we can make sure that the decision-making in our schools is really serving the benefit of the learner. Curriculum assessment, key thing in the ways we are answering the fourth industrial revolution. And I think Alexa has manifested that beautifully, that how we can really can rethink the computer science and how we can turn students' motivation to gaming into computational thinking. And then devices for learning. Many governments across the globe realized that there was not equal enough environment in the society. We have seen many European countries, Portugal, Italy, Spain, UK, German, really taking over and investing to student and teacher devices because many of the students had no means, no devices or internet connectivity. And this has also put pressure to really have those discussions that what kind of device is impactful for learning. And then the physical learning basis. Well, I would say that this has not necessarily been the topic of the year, but I think our learnings in hybrid learning may put us into position to start to also think the physical learning environment. And really, we will not go any deeper here, but as you know, we have quite a lot of research-based information. For instance, what kind of user interfaces in device are helping deep learning, meaning that you are not only passive consumer of the learning content, but you are actually creating content, you are collaborating. So I would say that the device doesn't matter until you choose the wrong one. And this is really important to think about and discuss what are the use cases and scenarios that kids are using the computers with. And once again, we have a good set of reflective questions that you can emphasize and utilize when you are building the new normal in your schools. Intelligent environments is really the area where we have been had hybrid learning as an area of developing, and I would say that it kind of shifted that previously it was really around how the hybrid learning can extend the learning experience and how we can extend and understand what is happening in the home learning or outside of the school environment learning. But of course, now it kind of flipped around because of COVID. And for many people, remote learning is closer to the hybrid learning concept. And I think this is something we have to rebuild and discuss. I don't think that the outcome can be that teachers are thinking that we will not use technology tools that we are now face-to-face. Actually, the COVID has changed our work environment for adults, and there's more and more flexibility happening that side of the society. So once again, how we can leverage some of those experiences and how we can enable learners to have flexibility as well. Safety, privacy and security, this especially is a big topic in Europe, and I'm happy that it is. We want to make sure that what more technology is enabling and supporting learners, that their privacy is not really at risk, that the users' data is owned by the users, it's not monetized by any company. So this is actually one of the core values that we are driving at Microsoft. How we optimize and have sustainable operations and the advanced analytics. And this is the thing that we're going to do a little bit deep dive for. Some of the changes we did over last summer in Teams and in our modern workplace learning environment, Office 365, was really the acknowledgement that many teachers felt that remote learning means that you are learning in isolation. So that's why we started to use artificial intelligence in a very kind of structured way to create like virtual joint learning experiences and visualization of individual users. So actually, these features are artificial intelligence in action, like the background feature as well. Right now, you don't see my home office because I'm having this backdrop in my Teams, which actually is giving also privacy and security elements for individual students, because social economical background may be revealed if you are joining via camera in Teams. So these are very important things. We did launch risk assets of hybrid and remote learning materials, professional development scenarios. And I hope that many of you have utilized these. What is really important is that we can also go and revisit some of these materials when we start to talk about the quality of hybrid learning going forward. So hopefully you can have access and really consider how this can be also part maybe of your professional development plan or your building up new normal plan in your school. And then the advanced analytics is something I want to have a little bit of deep dive, because we have some very interesting projects, but we are also launching during the summertime some new features in Teams to enable data-driven decision makers for teachers and school leaders and system leaders. So let's watch this video from Finland. Finland, city of Helsinki, the capital city, has been now building their AI hub, the strategy for data and artificial intelligence. And actually, I'm now challenging you. We have been in passive listening mode now for more than an hour. So after this video, I will also invite you to share your thoughts and questions. What are you excited about, and what may be the risks that you see in data and artificial intelligence used in schools? So really looking forward for your comments. So get ready.
Helsinki was the first capital that had a digitalization strategy for education already in 2016. Helsinki is developing education and also AI and learning analytics to make Helsinki the most impactful place for learning in the whole world. In Helsinki, we see the whole city as our learning environment.
In City of Helsinki Education Division, our goal is well learning. Our goal is that all our students will achieve their full potential. Basically, teachers are having 25, maybe 30 students in a classroom, and all the students are individual learners with the individual's needs. And even though our teachers are super ladies and super men, they cannot really personalize or follow each of the students' learning process. So we have to provide some tools by AI to teachers. First, we have identified the pedagogical use cases. Use cases how to support the learning process to individualize the learner, also support the teachers, and also educational leaders. By these use cases, we have been able to define what is the technological cloud architecture of our AI hub. So based on the use cases, we have defined the data pipelines, and what kind of algorithms are needed into Azure to implement this.
We selected Azure as our cloud platform due to a number of different reasons. Firstly, Azure offers us a number of ready-made AI components and other components which are very well integrated with each other. And this is important because we definitely see Azure as the brains of our AI hub, not just a data storage or a hosting solution. Secondly, the security and privacy aspects were very important to us as well, and Microsoft has really shown in this department with, for example, the ethical AI initiative. Thirdly, we really appreciate the well-working collaboration with Microsoft. We have received a lot of good commitment, lots of help, technical help from Microsoft side, and we are really looking to continue that collaboration going forward.
We really emphasize on the ethics of the algorithms, ethics of the AI, because we are dealing with the kids' future and very sensitive data. We don't use learning analytics to stigmatize or classify students. We don't want the learning analytics or AI to build self-fulfilling prophecies. So pretty much the transparent and ethical learning analytics is everything for us. To develop AI and learning analytics is a global opportunity for all of us. It's something we cannot develop in isolation alone. So we need a global community for co-develop, for co-innovate to AI and learning analytics. We need companies like Microsoft, we need other stakeholders like cities and governments to develop the bright future for our kids.
So please use the chat, but I will tell you a couple of small snapshots also before we go to the kind of virtual discussion. The things that we are developing together with our product team and which also in today's keynote we learned is really the importance of data, that it became obvious that we need to have other means to understand the learners' engagement level, those learners who are maybe behind in their activities, who are at risk of dropping out from that course. So later in the summer and next autumn, we will launch a set of ready-made displays inside of Teams where, for instance, teacher or classroom kind of leader or group leader can see what the engagement level are, where the kind of progress of tasks is, etc. So this is really exciting. This means that if you are using Teams in your school, your teacher could start to use data to make their pedagogical decisions or focus for what kind of which child is needing more support. And the same goes to you. As a system leader, you are able to see the learning data on the school or city level that can help you to make the right pedagogical leadership decisions or see the gaps, etc. So we are very excited to work with education systems and especially our showcase schools after we are ending this preview stage where we are now. So we already have education customers around the world who are using some of these features. So this means that not all education systems have to go the same way as Helsinki did to build their own data lake and use cases. We will also help and do some things that you are able, very easy to adapt in your schools. So that's why I would say that, I would be really keen before we close this session. I think we have like 1 minute left to really just share your comments and thoughts in the chat.